In the name of God. The Adventures of Qabad. This story, the theft of Qabad's pants. Once upon a time, Qabad, along with his trusty donkey named Kharkesh, embarked on a new journey. Qabad and his old donkey were always on adventures and had traveled to many lands. This time, they arrived in the land of India. Throughout his life, Qabad had seen many strange people and places, but India was very different. Right from the start, he had heard that he should hold on tightly to his pants. The thieves here, in India, were unlike any he had ever seen. They could take your clothes and pants off without you even realizing it. Qabad, feeling quite scared, kept glancing down at his legs every few moments to make sure his pants were still in place. He soon realized that it wasn't just his pants they had their eyes on. He had to hold on to everything he had tightly. After all, he somehow managed to save his pants and ran away from that area. He tied his old donkey to a spot and left his belongings with Kharkesh. He went to the market to buy some provisions for his continued journey. In that fierce market, you could find everything from chicken milk to the life of a human. He saw a shop that had a sign saying, "Chicken milk for sale." He approached and asked, "How do you get chicken milk?" The shopkeeper replied, "The chickens in India give milk." Qabad thought to himself, this land is becoming too strange. Chicken milk wasn't the strangest thing sold in that market. Qabad said to the shopkeeper, "What kind of work is this? Poor chickens, who knows what you're doing to them to make them give milk? Why don't you get milk from cows instead?" Qabad realized he had offended the shopkeeper. It seemed he had said something he shouldn't have, and the shopkeeper slowly got up and began to chase him with a stick, cursing and swearing at him. Eventually, Qabad understood that drinking cow's milk in India was a crime because many people worship cows. For a while, Qabad's head had been hurting due to all the strange events he had experienced. So, he decided to get some headache medicine from the market. As soon as he reached the pharmacy, the stench nearly suffocated him. He didn't know what the smell was, and he absolutely didn't want to know. He told the shopkeeper, "Sir, please give me some headache medicine. I'm about to faint from the pain." The shopkeeper, wearing a shabby brown outfit, asked, "Who are you? I've never seen you before. Are you a stranger?" Qabad replied, "Yes, I'm a stranger and wandering. My name is Qabad Kharkesh. My head has been hurting for a while now. I thought I would come and get some medicine from you." The shopkeeper said, "What a ridiculous name. Was there a famine?" Then he continued, "Forget that. You came to the right place. I have a potion that cures every ailment, from headaches to the plague." Qabad wondered what a headache had to do with the plague. After all, he wasn't a doctor. As long as the medicine cured his headache, that was enough. So, he told the shopkeeper, "Great, I'll take that. How do I use it?" The shopkeeper said, "Rub half of it on your head and drink the other half. If your headache doesn't go away, I'm not Mirza Shashkur." Qabad was surprised at the strange name. Anyway, he took the medicine and went to get some provisions. Aside from scorpion rice, it seemed there was nothing edible to find. He decided to get the chicken milk after all. It was better than ant rice. He returned to his donkey and used the headache medicine the way Mirza had instructed. He rubbed half of it on his head and drank the other half. That night, he slept next to his old donkey. What a sleep it was. Every time he fell asleep, ants crawled all over his face, and it felt like they were about to enter his mouth. Poor Qabad was fed up. He couldn't get a good night's sleep. Early in the morning, he angrily went to Mirza's shop. He shouted, "What kind of medicine have you given me? I swear to God, I haven't had a moment of restful sleep since last night. Did you give me headache medicine or ant food?" Mirza replied, "To tell you the truth, both. It's a universal medicine." "Now tell me, what do you mean by that? Which god are you talking about?" Qabad, taken aback, didn't know what to say. Mirza's apprentice said, "There was a donkey with Qabad. He must be talking about that." Qabad thought to himself, "These people worship donkeys. and the donkey isn't the strangest thing they worship. Mirza Shashkur said, "Forget those. How's your headache? Are you feeling better?" Qabad replied, "What better? I haven't been able to sleep a moment due to the ants and grasshoppers and all the other nuisances. My head is about to explode. What is this medicine? What is it made of?" Mirza picked up a bottle of the medicine and said, "Cow urine cures every ailment." Poor Qabad, who had just realized that Mirza had given him urine, nearly fainted on the spot. He understood what the awful smell in the shop was and why Mirza's clothes were brown. For a moment, his headache became so severe that he fainted right there in front of the shop. When he opened his eyes, he found himself buried in dirt up to his neck. He screamed so loudly that Mirza and his apprentice rushed to him. Qabad said, "What is this? Where am I? Why did you bury me? I'm still alive." Mirza quickly sat beside Qabad and said, "Calm down, big man. Did you think I stole your inheritance? Why are you screaming like this? You fainted, so we decided to treat you differently. This dirt has amazing healing properties. You can't find such dirt anywhere else." Qabad yelled, "What? Is this dirt made from cow urine and sand?" Mirza replied, "Exactly. How did you know?" As soon as Qabad heard this, he fainted again. This time when he woke up, he found himself still buried in dirt. This dirt smelled so bad that Qabad was about to faint again. He screamed, and once more Mirza and his apprentice came to him. This time Qabad was truly out of his mind. He let out a long sigh and said to Mirza, "Oh Mirza, no one has ever humiliated me like this. First, you gave me urine to drink, and now you've buried me in dung." Mirza laughed and said, "Did you think that's why they call me Mirza Shashkur? I've given urine to even the king of India to drink. Now tell me, has your headache gone away, or should I pour more headache medicine on your head?" Qabad, who had suffered enough at Mirza's hands, replied, "Sir, I regret it, my head didn't hurt at all from the start. Get me out of here. I'm just a poor old man in this strange city, and I'm dying alone." Mirza said, "What? Your head doesn't hurt? Do you think we sit here doing nothing? Why would we treat a head that doesn't hurt? What a waste of that precious urine." Then he went and grabbed a pillow and hit Qabad on the head as hard as he could, saying, "You deserve to be beaten with a stick, but unfortunately, you're buried in a blessed place and have drunk something sacred." After he thoroughly disciplined Qabad, he and his apprentice pulled him out of the hole, and as soon as Qabad's feet touched the ground, he ran away from Mirza as fast as he could. With the same disheveled appearance and horrible smell, he headed towards his donkey. When the donkey saw its owner, it was overjoyed and started braying. But as soon as Qabad got close, the donkey fainted from the terrible smell. Qabad leaned down to check if his heart was still beating. He saw the donkey's belly rising and falling, and he sighed in relief, saying to himself, "Look at what a state we've fallen into." Since he couldn't find anything edible, he hadn't eaten anything for a day. His situation was dire, and he decided to visit the public bath to clean himself up. After some searching, he finally found the bath, and just as he was about to enter, he saw people bringing their donkeys and cows into the bath. He asked the barber there, "Excuse me, is this a public bath or a livestock pool?" The barber, having never seen Qabad before, replied, "Who are you to mock our gods like this? Shall I order my gods to kick you?" Qabad, realizing the mess he had made, said, "I apologize, it slipped out of my mouth. I didn't realize what I was saying. I'm a faithful human. Look, I've just covered my whole body with the excrement and urine of your sacred gods." The barber glanced at Qabad from the corner of his eye and said, "No need to look, the stench of your body has filled the whole area. Now go inside." Qabad entered the bath, or pool, or whatever it was called, to wash himself. Bathing with a donkey and a cow was not new to him. He always cleaned his old donkey during bath time. But he had never seen people bring their donkeys and cows into the bath. He witnessed very strange scenes in the bath. Two barbers were scrubbing the back of a cow, while one was brushing a calf's teeth. 2 donkeys were on the other side, apparently planning to mate, but one kept stopping them, saying, "Have some shame, this isn't the place for that." The bath had turned into a zoo. He thought to himself, how nice it would be if I had brought Kharkesh along and cleaned him up too. He cleaned himself of the filth and then tipped the barber before leaving to fetch Kharkesh. On his way, he saw a mouse scurry past him and hide behind something. Just behind the mouse, a cat leaped over Qabad, causing a mess of his hair and face. Qabad grabbed the cat's tail and slammed it hard to the ground, and both the cat and the mouse quickly resumed their chase. Qabad noticed that angry people were approaching him from both ends of the street, carrying sticks and knives. He clutched his pants tightly and quickly ran away. He thought these were the pants thieves he had heard about. He fled from one alley to another until he realized there was no escape. He didn't know what was going on or why they were after him. He said, "Gentlemen, what has happened to you? Why are you chasing me? If you want my pants or clothes, just say so, and I will gladly give them to you. But please, leave me alone, I am just a traveler in India. Is this how you welcome a guest?" Just as he said this, one of them hit him hard on the head with a stick, and Qabad fainted again. When he came to, he found himself bound and surrounded by a large crowd. One of them, who seemed angrier than the others, said, "People, I saw with my own eyes that this infidel disrespected our gods." Qabad shouted back, "I swear to God, I did not disrespect them. Today I purified myself with the excrement of your gods. I even drank some of the urine." The angry man shouted, "He's lying. I saw with my own eyes that he knocked one of the gods to the ground and nearly trampled the other." Qabad, now realizing the mistake he had made, said, "Are you talking about the mouse and the cat? You worship these two?" As he cried, he promised himself that if he survived this ordeal, he would never look at any animal with disdain or say anything unkind to them. The situation was such that in a large market, on one side, people worshipped cats, and on the other side, they worshipped mice. These two sides of the street always had problems with each other because their gods were always fighting, which had led the whole street against him. The angry crowd was debating how to punish Qabad. One suggested, "Whip him." Another said, "Imprison him." Qabad pleaded in the midst of this, "Do whatever you want, but please don't take my pants and don't make me drink cow urine again." The people's eyes reddened at Qabad's words. He realized he had messed up again. The angry crowd knew what Qabad's punishment would be. They brought 2 cows, tied them back to back, and forced Qabad's head between their backsides. Then they dangled a mouse in front of Qabad's face and tied a cat on top of his head. One person came and shook the mouse in front of Qabad's face while another let go of the cat's paws so it could catch the mouse. Every time the cat tried to slap the mouse, it missed and hit Qabad instead, dodging the mouse while getting slapped by the cat. Qabad, feeling weak from the cat's slaps, shouted, "Animal, hit properly. Stop being so clumsy. You've been pampered here and raised as a freeloader, and you've forgotten your dignity and skill as an animal." Before he could finish speaking, another slap landed on him. Qabad said, "I swear, if my donkey were here, it would have torn this tiny mouse to pieces by now. Is this what you call a cat?" Another hard slap landed, but this time it wasn't from the cat, it was from the cat worshippers who were enraged by Qabad's insults. Qabad protested, "Oh, come on. I was encouraging your cat to catch this filthy mouse and settle the score with it." Suddenly, another slap came flying from the mouse worshippers. Qabad was utterly defeated and exclaimed, "I know what your pain is. You're blaming me for 1,000 crimes just to take my old pants from me. I accept this loss, take my pants and let me go free." As soon as the people heard this, they charged at Qabad's pants from all sides. One pulled from the top, another from the bottom. One was tearing at his pocket while another was yanking on his belt. Qabad, feeling pain from every direction, shouted, "Have mercy on your mouse and cat torture, I regret it. Are you all crazy to take my pants in such a way that nothing remains of them?" A passerby was walking by and saw the crowd attacking Qabad's pants. He approached and asked, "What's going on here?" Qabad, fearing to say the wrong thing, replied, "It's nothing, brother. We're just giving away pants as a charity." As soon as the passerby heard this, he exclaimed, "What a generous man. I'll wait in the corner until you're done and then take you to a place where you can give away pants there too." Qabad, with droopy eyes, said, "Brother, this was the last pair of pants that my late father left me as an inheritance. Don't just sit there. If you want to share in the charity, come and take your share and go." After 2 hours of struggle, Qabad's blessed pants were finally torn to shreds, and everyone, while taking a piece with them, happily headed home. Once Qabad's punishment was over, they kicked him out without his pants. What a cursed day it was. Throughout his life, Qabad had never consumed so much cow urine. He thought to himself, "Tomorrow morning, I will escape this wretched place at the first opportunity and forbid myself from traveling to India for 7 generations to come." As he was talking to himself and wondering if things could get any worse, he realized that things could always get worse. He went to the place where he had tied his donkey and found that his donkey was missing. Someone had stolen his donkey. He searched the entire area, but his donkey was nowhere to be found. His lifelong companion had been taken away. He sat on the ground and said, "What dirt should I pour on my head now?" Someone across the street shouted, "I have excellent dirt that is unparalleled. You won't find anything like it anywhere else." Qabad recognized that voice. It was Mirza. Mirza came over, patted him on the shoulder, and asked, "What happened, man? Why are you so upset?" Qabad, having no strength left, said, "Leave me alone, Mirza. My problem can't be solved with urine drinking. I've had enough for today." Mirza laughed and asked, "How's your headache? Did it get better?" Qabad hadn't realized it, but his headache had indeed gotten better. He sighed and said, "Oh Mirza, my donkey has been stolen, my lifelong travel companion." Mirza said, "Why don't you go to the king of the land? The solution to your problems lies with him." Qabad replied, "Why would the king want to meet me?" Mirza stood up, placed his hand on Qabad's shoulder, and said, "Just say that I sent you. If you say that, he will surely agree to meet you." Mirza said this and walked away. It was a good idea. Qabad didn't know what had transpired between Mirza and the king, but it seemed the king of India had a fondness for him. Anyway, early the next morning, Qabad went to the palace gates. The gatekeeper said, "Stay right where you are." "What do you want?" Qabad replied, "I came from Mirza. I have business with the king." The gatekeeper asked, "Mirza? Which Mirza?" Qabad, embarrassed to say Mirza's full name, replied, "The one who gave medicine to the king." The gatekeepers looked at each other, seemingly unaware of whom Qabad was referring to. Since Qabad was still shy, he said again, "The one who has a pharmacy in the city." The gatekeeper still didn't understand. One of them asked, "What do you want, old man? Speak quickly, who did you come from? Which Mirza?" Qabad finally said, "Mirza Shashkur." The gatekeeper, finally understanding which Mirza Qabad meant, said, "Just say that. Why are you wasting our time?" They opened the gate for Qabad, and he entered the royal court of the king of India. As soon as he entered the palace, he saw Mirza stirring a large pot with his apprentice. He approached and asked Mirza, "Mirza Khan, where are you? Are you preparing a special potion for the king?" Mirza was very happy to see Qabad and said, "Yes, exactly. That's what I'm doing." Qabad realized that Mirza was the king's personal physician, who had a potion for every ailment. Anyway, he entered the king's council and paid his respects, introducing himself, "Greetings to you, great king. I am Qabad the adventurer. I travel to various lands and engage in adventures." The courtiers were taken aback by Qabad's words, and one by one, they began to whisper among themselves. Finally, the Prime Minister of India stood up and opened the conversation, "Welcome to the land of India. We always offer special respect and hospitality to our guests and travelers. We hope you have a pleasant time in our country." Qabad, having experienced India's special hospitality, replied, "Yes, You are indeed hospitable if we don't count being buried in dung, drinking urine, being captured by angry people, having my pants taken off, and my donkey stolen." Qabad poured out everything he had on his mind to the royal court. Just as the Prime Minister was about to speak, the king laughed and said, "I've heard a lot about you, Qabad the adventurer. Of course, Mirza calls you Qabad Kharkesh, which I prefer much more. Yes, the people here are truly hospitable. Of course, their hospitality was unique to them, just like the entire land." The king was right. It wasn't just the hospitality of the people that was strange. The thieves, the gods, the foods, the medicines, and everything in India was unique, even for someone like Qabad who had traveled the world all his life. Finally, Qabad announced what he wanted to the king. "Great king, I have a request. Yesterday, my lifelong travel companion, my beloved donkey, was stolen. That donkey was my very old friend. Without him, I cannot travel. Please find a solution." The king, fiddling with his mustache, said, "Unfortunately, there are many thieves nowadays. Since you are a friend of Mirza, I will have a new donkey given to you." Qabad was beginning to have some wicked thoughts about Mirza and the king. Surely, the king's fondness for Mirza was not just because of the urine potion he made. However, he said, "Thank you for your generosity, great king, but I want to find my own donkey. I don't want a new one. If possible, please provide me with some soldiers to help me search for my donkey." The king, still fiddling with his mustache, finally agreed and said, "Stay with us in the palace tonight, and tomorrow I will send some soldiers with you to search for your donkey." The Prime Minister, who seemed to dislike Qabad, said, "My lord, it doesn't look good for the king's soldiers to search for a donkey in the city. What will people say? It's just what we need, to be the laughingstock of a donkey rider. If the donkey worshippers find out, it will start a war. We don't need a war with an army of donkeys." Qabad, after the Prime Minister, said, "Your Majesty, I know my donkey, no force is necessary. When my donkey sees me, it will come running to me." The king finally stopped fiddling with his mustache and began to fiddle with other parts of his body, like his hair. After some thought, he said, "If we can't send soldiers like that, then have a few men in disguise accompany you." Qabad was very pleased and said, "Hail to the wisdom and intelligence of your Majesty. With this cleverness, you can rule the entire kingdom." The Prime Minister, who was angry, said, "Of course, they can. He is the king of the land. Do you think he is plotting against him?" The King of India, tired of the Prime Minister's constant negativity, snapped back and said, "Curse you, why don't you let us joke a little? After all, I hired you as a Prime Minister, not a pest. If I had gotten a donkey for myself, it would have been better than all of you useless people. At least a donkey wouldn't bother me." The Prime Minister replied, "You hired me to give you advice. If you wanted to joke, you should have hired a clown." In short, that night, Qabad stayed in the king's palace, and after a long time, he was finally able to sleep peacefully. But it seemed that good fortune had not come to poor Qabad. As soon as he closed his eyes, he was kicked awake. When Qabad came to, he saw swords pointed at him, his hands and feet bound, and they were about to take his pants off, but he resisted so much that they gave up. It seemed that in India, taking off pants was something completely normal. His hands and feet bound, they brought him before the king. Qabad was bewildered and asked, "Your Majesty, what has happened? Why have you dragged me out of my bedroom like this?" The king, still in his colorful sleeping clothes, shouted angrily, "You rascal! I should have let the donkeys trample you. Now you come to me with sweet words? I sheltered you, and in return, you steal from me? It's true that your donkey is smarter than you. I order that you be hanged without your pants in the city square." Poor Qabad, not knowing whether to cry or laugh, said, "I swear to every god you worship, I have never stolen anything." The Prime Minister shouted, "Shut up, thief! Just an hour ago, several thieves stole from the royal treasury and emptied half of it, right on the night you entered His Majesty's palace." Qabad replied, "My lord, if you follow this logic, you should arrest the entire court. You can search my entire room. If you find even a single coin, I swear I will take off my pants myself and drink a barrel of cow urine. They did just that, and they found nothing in Qabad's room that indicated he was a thief. But they were still suspicious of him. Qabad said, "My king, to ensure my innocence, I suggest you search the rooms of all the court members." The prime minister was so angry that he nearly attacked Qabad himself and shouted, "You rascal! Do you dare accuse the king's ministers of theft? Your Majesty, order that his head be cut off." The king, who was nearly awake now, said, "I think Qabad may be right." The prime minister, flapping around like a chicken, shouted, "Now your Majesty is not in a good mood. What will people say? They will say the king doesn't even trust his own ministers." The king replied, "Well, to be honest, I really don't trust them. I order that all the rooms of the court members be searched." The soldiers went and searched all the rooms, and after a while, they found nothing. Qabad was gradually losing hope until a soldier rushed in breathlessly and said, "Your Majesty, we found several chests of coins in one of the court members' rooms." The king leaped up and asked, "Which one? Whose room?" The soldier, out of breath, replied, "My lord, the room of the prime minister." The king was so astonished that he could hardly believe what he was hearing. The palace gatekeeper brought a prisoner before the king, and when they removed the sack from his head, it turned out to be the prime minister himself, who was trying to sneak out through the back of the palace. The king, now red with rage, shouted at the prime minister, "You incompetent fool! I trusted you like my own eyes, and you stabbed me in the back?" The bound prime minister, tongue-tied, said, "My lord, how could I?" The king shouted, "Shut up, worthless thief! I will have you beaten until you confess and name your accomplices." Qabad had a better suggestion than beating. In short, that night, the prime minister was made to drink so much cow urine that he eventually revealed all his accomplices. It turned out there were 4 thieves who had colluded to empty the royal treasury, one of whom was the prime minister himself, and he named the other 3 thieves, Gorjan Khan, Mirza Peshang, and Chingai's Khatun. Qabad said, "Your Majesty, now that it has been revealed that I am innocent, since you are doing me a great favor by helping me find my donkey, I would be grateful if you would allow me to go after the thieves and bring back my donkey." The king replied, "You can't even find your own donkey. How do you expect to go after the thieves?" Qabad insisted, "I will eventually find my donkey. He can't have gone far. Just give me a few soldiers, and I will take care of the thieves." The king agreed, and Qabad began his new adventure in search of the thieves. To be continued.